Hey, we're back with another episode of Rock Fantasy Files, and we are here to talk about one of our favorite bands and one of the most iconic names in thrash metal, and almost crossing over into like influenced a lot of death metal bands. I think in all with Slayer. We're here to talk about Slayer tonight. We're kind of across the board in this. I tell people to pick out their favorite songs. Some people are just going to talk more about concert experiences, some tales from the road, and we'll pick out some of our favorite songs from favorite albums. And of course, if you don't know who Slayer was, they were formed in 1981, and Kerry King, Jeff Hanneman, Dave Lombardo, Tom Araya was the original lineup, and gave us so much great music over the years in the extreme thrash metal zone, where I always thought that they were one of the better thrash metal bands just because I liked their material. I liked them. They were a little more evil and they were a little bit more felt more metal than some of the other thrash metal bands from that time. And of course, became one of the big acts. I got to see them several times on their final tour with different legs. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but I'd like to welcome everyone to the room. Of course, we've got regulars on the channel tonight. John McEntee from the Mighty Incantation, welcome. Robin Mazen from Gruesome, Dakota, and manager to the Stars. We've got Chris Alo, longtime journalist, and from the Hudson Valley Squares. We've got Stephen Levin, also known as, he's representing his cat's Instagram channel, Puny Bear. At the moment, it still says Puny Bear on the screen. We got the Sasquatch all the way from the Great White North from the band Aggression, Denis Barthe. And we have a guest that's been on a couple times, our good friend down in Florida, Brad Mader, works at Dean Guitars, worked at Rock Fantasy for many years back in the 90s, and also has a band down there called Must Not Kill. And welcome to the show, everyone. We're going to go around. Maybe we'll go around once or twice. So we don't really have too much organization with us because it was too nice out for me today. I think I was outside too long last couple of days, but I'm sounding very unprofessional as I usually do. But we're not. We're going to start this off with John McEntee, and maybe you'll give us some of your favorite songs from favorite albums, whatever you've got put together. We're going to talk about Slayer and make it an interesting show.
Do you want me to do all my favorite songs at once or going around a couple times? How should I do
Maybe
it?
we'll go. Maybe we'll do. A couple in the first round. Come back
Okay,
and touch on it. Yeah, it'd be cool.
cool. Well, I mean, obviously, Slayer. Really, you don't have to say much about it. They, one of the most important bands, obviously, ever. And I know first time I really heard them, I just thought it was, just insane and just really, really dug it. The first time I actually heard it, I think was on the radio. I might have even heard them on the Metal Massacre
Yeah.
comp back then. Might have been my first introduction to them. And then I remember watching the Ultimate Revenge was the first time I actually got to see him live. I was just too young to go see him live before that. And it was just, you know, just so heavy, so brutal, so sick that, just immediately I was, a huge fan of them. And yeah, just super important band for myself and everybody else. I mean, music would not be the same. Extreme music would not be the same without them. I mean, they
Yeah.
basically, you know, I had multiple landmark albums, especially for me. The early albums are the most important ones. But
Yeah.
Hell Awaits for me was a total groundbreaking album. I mean, it was the most evil, dark, sick thing I think I've heard to that time. That it was all fast and aggressive, and then they come out with Raining Blood, which ends up being like the quintessential
Yeah.
thrash album, pretty much. So it's pretty much a pretty killer 1-2 punch, and everything up to Hell Awaits is amazing too. But anyway, yeah, my I'm gonna go with just my top 5 songs. That's what I was kind of going with, and
Sure.
one I would like to go with. It's hard. It's hard to pick because really everything from their first probably 4 albums is like my favorite song. But I'm gonna go with "Captor of Sin." It's just such a good song. I mean, it's such a fucking good song. It's one of those songs that I heard it and I just it just inspired me to want to write the most evil, sick stuff ever. I mean, those riffs are just so dark on that song. So that's my number 5. And man, it's tough to because I'm gonna pick one off Hell Awaits, and that I mean. Everything on an album to me is like perfect. I mean, I know people might not like it so much because of the production. I like the production. I like the vibe of the whole album. I think it's one of the most evil things ever. What song off here? I'm gonna go with Praise of Death. I just every song on that album is amazing, but that's just one of the killers, one of the ones that I don't even remember if I ever seen him play it live. Maybe just on video or something like that. But an amazing song. But every song off Hell Awaits is just I mean, it's unbelievable the quality of songwriting on that album. It just blows my mind. And to do the next album like Raining Blood, which kind of has a totally different attack to it, a different way to the album, is just phenomenal. If they could have switched over, still keep it in context. But yeah, for now, those are my 2 favorite. I'll just say my first time seeing Slayer wasn't until what was it, 86? It was when
Okay.
I guess they were in New York. They were mixing. I think I don't know. I guess they're mixing South to Heaven because Raining Blood must have already been out. I can't remember. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway, Possessed was playing, and I've seen him at L'Amour's. And after Possessed played, Slayer came out on Possessed equipment and played like 3 songs at the show. And it was, total, like it was a rumor that Slayer was there and that Slayer was going to do some shows. And I mean, not do some shows, do some songs
yeah,
or whatever. And I mean, I was already blown away by Possessed because I mean, I was excited to see Possessed back then. But yeah, Slayer came out. They were drunk off their asses, and they did was it Altars of Sacrifice, Die by the Sword, and Jesus Saves. And I want to say it was before Raining Blood was released, but I can't remember what year Raining Blood actually got released.
86.
Yeah, September of 86.
Yeah, it was
and John, my buddy Tad Leger from Toxic was at the same show you were at, and he always would tell me that story. He's like, that was the craziest thing ever to see Possessed, and then Slayer comes out and does a couple songs.
Yeah,
I was there. I went to that too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was just
legendary.
Yeah,
I'll get into my story, but yeah, I was at that show. It was crazy, man.
That's
But yeah, go ahead.
It was just a awesome way to see him. I mean, just to see it for the first time, because like I said, that was my first time seeing him. So, and it was a total like surprise. I didn't even know going there that it was going to happen. It just happened to hang out, and it was pretty funny because Tom Araya was totally wasted. I mean, just totally drunk off his ass while playing the show, and just babbling, kind of,
I think they were all fucked up.
Yeah, probably. I just remember hearing Tom Araya just kind of, mumbling and babbling on the mic or whatever, telling the crowd to shut the fuck up. So or whatever. So yeah, maybe you remember it a little better than I do, but it was a fun night,
I think I was in the same condition.
Yeah, I was pretty drunk too. So
I was pretty young, and I was still in high school when I went to that. But yeah, that was a great fucking thing.
Yeah,
man.
well, it was fun because for us youngsters that would go into shows at L'Amour's, you'd be able to get a bunch of beers, pound them outside, go inside the club, and forget the show you've seen because you're so drunk. But it was awesome to go.
Oh, sure. And in L'Amour, you could be 15 and buy beers at the bar. I mean, they still, I did it plenty of times. That was one of the few places that didn't give a shit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You guys waited that long?
Yeah,
amateurs in this fucking room tonight. What the hell?
But yes, that's my first time seeing Slayer story too. I figured I'd add that in there.
Cool. All right, I'm going to head over to Mr. Chris Alo. He's on the block below John on my screen, and welcome to the show. And Chris is a huge Slayer fan. He's traveled the globes to see them between his journalist job and just being a fan in general. So Welcome, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me. Yeah, big fan. I managed to see Slayer 58 times in the States, Belgium, Holland, Germany. I've seen them in international waters on the Motorhead motorboat cruise, and I flew to Los Angeles and saw the final 2 Slayer shows in 2019. And they're a huge band. One of my favorite bands. One thing I always was special to me about Slayer, my all-time favorite band, and the band that got me into music was Black Sabbath. But Sabbath's first record came out the year before I was born. By the time I got into Sabbath, and when I was 12 or 13, they were already onto their 3rd singer, and then the 4th and 5th singer. And when I got into Slayer when Hell Awaits was out, so that was, they were still young and fresh, and Slayer always kind of seemed like it was my band, whereas like Black Sabbath was like as much as I love them, it was a band for another generation. So that's why Slayer kind of always meant so much to me. And I just fucking love that band. My first concert experience, I saw them on the Rain and Blood tour. It was a really weird bill. It was Wasp, Slayer, and Raven. And,
where was that at?
That was in the Capitol Theater in Passaic, New Jersey.
I was there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I remember, like,
that was Raven when they wore the hockey stuff or whatever live.
Yes.
It was on one of their not quite as good albums.
Yes,
that might have been my first time seeing them too. I think
kind of a shit around. Was it Wiped Out maybe for?
No,
Stay Hungry or
Stay Hard. It was.
Stay Hard. That's right. Yeah. Not the best for Raven. Slayer was unbelievable. I always say setlist.fm has it wrong because they actually did. I remember they did an encore. They had the Heaven and Hell crosses upside down. Yes. With the multicolored lights, and the crowd went totally nuts watching their, 45, 50-minute set, and they wanted an encore, and the Slayer came out, and Tom was like, we're not supposed to do this, but all right, we're going to do the fastest song we can, and they did Necrophobic, and they got off stage. They were great, I remember half the audience seemed to walk out after Slayer, and then Wasp came on, and they were good, but that was, Slayer in 86, 87 was a tough act to follow.
It was just a fire that they had back then. Was even different from when you watch them now. It just doesn't have that same fire to me, at least. But
100%. But we're going back
younger,
30 something years ago.
There was something real super special about it, though. Just to see them at that point when they're still really trying to break through and push through, made those shows, to me at least, extra special.
100%. If you go back and watch the sets from that time period, they have so much raw energy. I always like to say, man, if you could fucking harness it, you could power a city off that raw energy coming off those 4 guys. It's true. It's really unbelievable. I watched not that long ago some of the bootleg footage of them from '85 on the European tour for Hell Awaits. Man, they're just it's unbelievable watching these guys. So young, which of course. Old age catches up to all of us. Yeah, real quick, 2 of my favorite songs. First song off Show No Mercy, Evil Has No Boundaries. I just love that track. I like some of the catchier Slayer stuff. I think possibly my all-time favorite Slayer song, and I got to see them do it 2 nights in a row in 2000. God, was that 2002 or 2003? I don't know. I'm getting old and rusty. Haunting the Chapel. I remember it was probably my 30th time seeing Slayer. They did 2 nights at the Roseland in New York City, and they advertised it as the 2 shows were going to have different sets, and even the stage was going to be done up differently. And I went both nights, and I was sitting there with my buddy Sean, and he's like, well, what do you think they're going to play? I'm like, dude, I don't know. I've seen it all. I just want to get Haunting the Chapel, which I'm never going to get. And then they did play it both nights. I think that was 2003, I want to say.
I think I was at one of those nights. I remember seeing Slayer at Roseland.
Yeah.
I think it was around that time period.
I mean, they did Roseland a lot, but the really cool thing with these shows was they changed even the stage setup, the lighting, everything was different, and it wasn't completely different sets. But Slayer was good like that they would often mix stuff up, and even the final two shows, the second to last show was amazing because they pulled out like 5 songs that they hadn't done in the last couple years. And there was a couple of my favorites like Evil Has No Boundaries and Black Magic. And then the final show was a little bit of a bummer because they went back to the generic farewell set list that they'd been doing pretty much, every night.
Yeah.
But it was still super cool to be there. And I must have had good seats because I sat right behind Chuck Billy and
Sat right behind
Metal
me.
Maria. Oh, were you next to Chuck?
I was with Chuck, Tiffany, and John.
Wow,
Right
that's
there.
crazy.
So you sat right behind.
That's funny.
I was crying. I assure you.
Yeah, it was emotional. It was definitely it was very emotional, but it was great to be there.
That's hilarious. That's so funny.
Who was the support actor when they did those Roseland gigs? Was it Mastodon?
God, no, Mastodon. That was later because that was Mastodon and Killswitch Engage, and I think that was 2004 or 5.
I was definitely at that one because I remember like running into Mastodon because they had just played like the Loft, and like, we were hanging out with them there, and I saw one of the guys there that night, and I sometimes it's hard to blend because you've seen so many shows. Yeah.
How I remember that show, that tour rather, was that was the blood tour where they had the rig that spit the blood on them, and I went 3 nights in a row. I went to the Roseland to see Megadeth at the Roseland, and then I think it was Megadeth and Exodus when Exodus had the guy from that other band singing. I can't remember his name. The LA band. Then the next night it was Slayer, Killswitch, and Mastodon where they did the blood thing at the Roseland, and then the next night they played. I saw the same show at the Starland Ballroom, and I went with my buddy Frank White. He did a photo shoot, and I met all the guys in Slayer. They signed my my Rain and Blood album, and I remember I had a bootleg Slayer shirt, and it was Kerry King on it, and that guy John Kerry, I guess, was running for president. So it was a bootleg shirt of Kerry King giving the finger, and it said vote Kerry. And when I walked over to them, they signed him. Kerry didn't look that happy that I was wearing this shirt. Dave Lombardo thought it was really funny, and he actually asked Kerry. He's like, "Is that one of your shirts?" And Kerry's like, "No." And but I remember too, totally off the subject, but I'd interviewed the guy that was running the Jägermeister tour for Circus Magazine because I had done this big thing on Slayer, and I interviewed Kerry and Tom with Frank's pictures previously. We did a big thing on Slayer, so they gave us all access passes, and it was a open bar for me and Frank the whole night. I got so fucking hammered. It was ridiculous, but that was a great show. But I remember the blood thing was kind of lame because it wasn't as good as it was on the video, and I'm probably didn't want to ruin their instruments every night. But yeah. Anyway, I'm rambling.
No, it's good. It's good you're rambling. I tell you, I was at Slayer at a Starland Ballroom once, and it was like, it was unenjoyable.
Oh, it was crazy.
It was that crowded. It might have been the same show you were talking about.
You had to fight to get to the bathroom.
You had to fight.
There's so many people
to do anything. Like you couldn't move, you couldn't get a drink, you couldn't move. Like wherever you were just stuck. And I'm like, I was too old for that then. I was like, kind of Starland was kind of like notorious for overselling.
Oh, for sure.
At times. Yeah, cool. So we'll come back to you and talk to you in a little bit. And next, who wants to be the next in line? I got Steve Levin as a center square tonight, so I think we'll talk to Steve a little bit.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm left over here, but yeah, center square, cool.
You're
awesome.
Like all in.
Nice. So Slayer, I'm really old, and I go back to the Metal Massacre days when I first heard them. And then I remember my friend telling me, you know, I don't know if you remember that band Slayer, but they've got an album coming out. And when you see it, you should pick it up because it's supposed to be incredible. So our old record store that we used to go to was Record World in the old Orange Plaza.
Yeah.
That's picked everything up. And I saw the Show No Mercy album. And I think it had side 6 and side 6 and the guys on the back with all the makeup on and everything, which for that time for me was cool. Like, I know what they got slammed in the West Coast for doing that, playing with the Exodus shows and all that. But when you saw it on the album, and I was always drawn to that occult type of stuff anyway, it was super cool. So obviously I took it home and listened to it, and yep, there it is. And today, I mean, you know, love that album. It's so great. It's fast. Back in that day, even like the punk magazines like Maximum Rock and Roll really liked Slayer, which was unheard of because that magazine like that used to actually put most metal down. And all the punks really loved some of the really fast songs, like Tormentor was the one they always spoke about, which is one of my favorite songs from the album. And then when Hell Awaits came out, they actually got slammed a little bit. That whole kind of punk and hardcore, well, not so much the hardcore, but the punk community that really liked them for that speed didn't really like him as much with Hell Awaits because obviously the songs were longer, they were slower, they were a little bit more drawn out. But to me, that's my favorite Slayer. The atmosphere on that had a heavy reverb, so it really lends to atmosphere. And atmosphere on a thrash album is just about unheard of. There's very few thrash bands. A lot have that very dry attack that was more in the Rain and Blood with no reverb on it at all. It's very straightforward. And Hell Awaits had that magic of that very much atmosphere. It almost like you could just hear stuff when you listen to it on headphones. And that'd always be my favorite, that and the Chemical Warfare EP, which is another one. Like when Dave Lombardo switched from doing single bass on Show No Mercy to double bass on the Chemical Warfare EP, it was just unheard of. And the stuff he was doing was so fast, like Captor of Sin, like John had spoke of, like that double bass is ridiculous. And then like if you really listen to Haunting in Chapel, it's a little bit hard to pick up, but his double bass is so blazingly fast, it just blows your mind. And it's just was such a great time for music. And my first time seeing them was actually the first time they played the East Coast. It was 1984, Halloween night at the Rio Theater. And we were hanging out with the guys from Blessed Death. I didn't know they played in Blessed Death at the time, but a couple of guys, Larry, and I can't remember, I think.
Oh, I remember them, yeah.
Yeah, I think there might have been a guy named Ray. I don't really recall, but a few of those guys were at all the shows, and me and my friend would always talk to them and hang out. So they played in a band until they actually put their album out. But I still remember talking to them, and one of the things we were talking about is how like crazy the new Slayer EP was and how great it was. So that was 1984, Staten Island, the Rio Theater, and that was a great night. Involved stuff like one of the guys we were with didn't have money for a toll, so he just decided he was going to run the toll. And back then, you could get away with stuff like that. These days, you could never get away with that.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I don't have money for the toll, so I'm just going to run it. Instead of even talking to the toll guy, he just blew right through it. So yeah, good move, but he got away with it. So, but so yeah, I go way back, and I think I saw Slayer not as many times as Chris, but I think I saw him close to 30 times. And honestly, almost every one of those times was from Rain and Blood down. Most of the times I saw them were a lot of times in 85. They came over quite a few times. I saw them at L'Amour's East when Exodus played their first East Coast tour. And that was crazy seeing Paul Bailoff back then. And Exodus were like such cool guys. They'd hang out and talk to you. And we actually ended up, probably wouldn't recognize me today, but we actually kind of knew Gary just from seeing him at all the shows. And he just always made himself out there, would come around and talk to you. So it was really cool. And yeah, I mean, I can't even tell you how much Slayer meant to me. Slayer was actually, to me, there was no band that had that energy. There was no band that was that crazy. I can still remember arguing with the staff from Rock and Roll Heaven North, which was Johnny Z's family, about who was the better band live, Metallica or Slayer. And it was close, but I always chose Slayer. I'm sorry. Might make some people mad, but you know, Slayer were always my thing. And honestly, I never saw a band capture that energy until Morbid Angel came out. When Morbid Angel first came out and I saw them live for the first time, when they first came around, they really kind of recaptured that energy with the the leather and just wearing the old, things had kind of gotten more to that street look where people were wearing jeans and stuff. And then here comes Morbid Angel with, the spikes and the upside down crosses and more of the theatrics that lended itself more to the metal that it kind of grown up with. So, but I could ramble on and on and on. But if I had to pick favorite Slayer songs to start out with, I would say for sure every song on the Chemical Warfare EP. For Show No Mercy, Praise of Death is probably my favorite song, just like John. On that EP, the Chemical Warfare EP, Haunting the Chapel's always been my favorite song. The way he sings that, it's so disjointed. It's like you almost have to practice singing that if you want to sing along with him, because the cadence they kept and how he was actually possible to do that and play it live was something. And that just actually reminded me, and then I'll turn it over to somebody else. But one thing that I loved about seeing him on the Hell Awaits tour, two of my favorite shows. One tour, they actually opened up and they played the entire Chemical Warfare EP with not taking one break, didn't say one word. I'm pretty sure that was at L'Amour's. That was crazy. And then another one of the most memorable shows, and you'd have to be a real Slayer geek to pick up on this stuff, was that they opened the show with Hell Awaits and then ended the show with Hardening of the Arteries. And that's another one of my favorite songs. I've never seen them play that song live except for that one show. And they ended the show with that song, and they actually did kind of the outro and then walked off stage. Of course, they did encores, but yeah, just magic. So, one of my favorite bands, those first 3, 4, maybe 5 are absolutely my favorite. And, then like everything else, you kind of start listening to other stuff, but they really drew me back in with an album that I know wasn't very popular with a lot of people, but I really love God Hates Us All. And to this day, Tom's vocals are so angry on it. And to me, it was kind of a return to the old days. So I still listen to that. I still love that. I think it's really ironic that album was actually supposed to come out on 9/11. Crazy. And I think I actually have somewhere down here. You can see.
Yeah, nice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it did come out on 9/11. We got that in and we started selling it that day when all hell broke loose. Yeah.
That's actually what it was. It was actually supposed to come out before that. And then they actually put out posters, and I have that somewhere too. And they had changed the date and put the 9/11 sticker over it. So,
because we had them at the store, if you remember.
Yeah, you remember.
Like that. Back when they used to give you album flats, remember?
Yes.
Remote records, they'd tell you that.
Right.
That record company would send you album flats, which is a dying. You don't see anybody with an album flat being made anymore to put in your window. But you used to get piles and you'd do the windows up with all the different albums.
Oh God, stickers, promos, everything, all the great stuff you used to get, man.
Yeah. And me and you actually went to see Slayer at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center later on when you were working for him, maybe in the 2000s.
Yes.
Would have been. I always remember that night because Mike Yusufer was actually there. None of us had seen him in a long time. And I remember me and you, like Mike was, it's funny how you remember some things like that as much as you do a show. Like you ran into a friend or something. With all the amount of shows how many shows have we seen in the room here? Can you imagine how many?
Oh, geez.
Everybody here.
Steve, do you remember when they played at the Chance?
Yeah. Slayer at the Chance, I put that in my notes. That was intense. They played there twice, right, Chris?
Yes, they did. The Chance they did in '86 on the Rain and Blood tour on the first leg. I want to say it was December-ish, and then then they did that was the very first night of the pre-Seasons in the Abyss tour, which was September 1990, and I was at that show too. And that was fucking.
That's when
insane.
They had the guy from Whiplash playing drums, wasn't it? Was there another drummer on it?
That was before that.
Yes, that would have been the Rain and Blood tour.
Yeah. I was at that show. I remember someone diving off that balcony.
Yeah.
His name was Tony, because all the guys at Whiplash were named Tony. Tony.
Yeah, correct.
Tony I think it was Tony
Scaglione. Yeah.
We would actually go to and they'd all be sitting at a table and hey, what's up, Tony? Funny.
Yeah, I remember someone diving off the balcony at that show, at that Chance, man. Holy shit.
The Chance that happened a few times over shows. One person got paralyzed from that, and there was a long time lawsuit that went on, and I think that was a Testament suicidal Tendencies tour for somebody.
Yeah,
else.
that was the only time I ever saw it there, and I was at the chance a billion times, just probably like everyone else here. But holy crap, I'll never forget that. I was like,
Yeah,
"Holy-"
I saw it a few times too, and it's never a good idea. It's just
Nah, I thought that
not a
dude
good
was dead.
idea.
No,
He hit the ground. I was like, he's done. But he got up, man. I was like, holy shit. But yeah, crazy, man.
what the adrenaline of a metal show, dude. Like I can jump up a 30-foot balcony and I'll be fine. Cool. So Steve, you want me to move on to somebody else for a little bit?
Yeah, otherwise I'm just gonna take up all your time and I'll keep rambling with all.
It's fine. But next in line on my screen is the Sasquatch. You know, people have been searching for Sasquatch for years, and we've found him on the Rock Fantasy Files. He's a regular on the show, so anybody's got their Bigfoot memorabilia, he'll sign it for you if you send him a little money along with the figure.
I'm the hide and seek champion.
Yeah.
I saw that shirt.
I know. Somebody gave me that sticker. I put it behind my guitar. Like I always
All right. I saw a t-shirt with that. I thought it was great.
So Aggression, we had a really close relationship with Slayer, especially at the beginning of their career. I have lots of stories. So I'll go with stories first because it's more
Please
fun.
do.
So I still remember like 83, my grandma used to always give me money before Christmas because I'm not patient enough to wait to get my present. And even though I was 17, she was still doing it. So cool, good on her. So I remember going to the Rock and Stock store in Montreal and buying Show No Mercy. Soon as Evil Has No Boundary kicks in, just and Tom go, ah! Like right away, it's like your favorite band. So, and like Show No Mercy is very accessible musically. Like even though it's heavy, it's very clear. I think they're tuned like straight. It's almost like Amp Top, Judas Priest. Like there's a lot of priests in there, the way that they're crafting their songs. So combined with a little bit of punk, like that they listen to. And Aggression, we started covering these songs right away. Like I picked up we used to play like Fight Till Death, Final Command, Show No Mercy, Antichrist, you name it. We played them all. Aggression, prior to be called Aggression, we used to be called Asylum. And then Kiss came out with that album. We had to change name like immediately because it sucked. But so we opened for Anvil. We were like, again, a 17-year-old kid, and our set was entirely made of Slayer song. We played the full Show No Mercy album, opening for Anvil, and nobody in the crowd knew that we were just like playing covers all night. So everybody thought like, wow, these guys are amazing, but we didn't play one of our song. We played an entire set of Slayer song.
That's awesome.
I first saw Slayer Haunting the Chapel tour. It was in October 1984 in Montreal at a place called the Spectrum. Amazing like venue for concerts. And they play a song, even though it was for like Haunting the Chapel. They did open with Elo Waits, and like our jaw were all open, looking at those guys like with upside down crosses, like just it sounded like they were straight from hell, right?
Yeah.
So after the show, we stayed around to like meet those guys, right? And they actually like were touring in a Camaro with a U-Haul attached behind the car, and I'm pretty sure like John Araya was with them as well as Gene Oglin.
Yes, that is accurate.
So and I think that because like Gene is bigger and there was no room for him sometime in the Camaro, he would actually like travel in the trailer with the stuff. So the story is like they played 2 nights before in Edmonton, Alberta, which is about like 3,000 I don't know, like 1,800 miles. I don't know how far it is. It's like from like Arizona to freaking Florida, I guess, or it's far.
Okay.
And the story is that Dave Lombardo drove like 75% of the time. John Araya drove a bit too. And then they played a full set. They did 3 encores that night. I had to look it up. They played their encores were Evil Has No Boundaries, Untitled the Chapel, and Show No Mercy. And before Show No Mercy, Dave Lombardo, after driving for like 15 hours straight, playing a full show, did a drum solo, a 15-minute drum solo before starting Show No Mercy.
Yeah.
So we were just blown away by okay, what does this guy take to be able to do that? Like we don't know, but like it was amazing that he did a drum solo in the encore and all that. My favorite story from that show is I was with a bunch of friends that didn't know about Slayer. They were like into like Queensryche and Maiden and all that stuff, right? So Slayer starts playing, and it was a band from Canada called Witchkiller that opened for them. And Witchkiller was more like regular heavy metal, like sounds a lot like I don't know, like more Dio, Ozzy, that type of metal. So they were there to see them, but then Slayer start, and then the guys around me are like, "Oh my God, this is just noise! Like, look at those. They had like those like freaking 6 inches like nails, bracelets, and this is horrible. This is the worst thing I ever seen in my life." And then like 15 minutes later, how much are the t-shirts? So they all became friend of Slayer. And we got to meet the guys and hang out with them, and they were very cool, like just like West Coast, all in like flip-flops and like shorts and just And the second time I saw Slayer was at the Banzai Record Festival in Montreal. They played like the original lineup was Slayer, Metal Church, Exodus, Megadeth, and Exciter. But Megadeth and Exciter somehow didn't make the bill. So Alo Sea and Agent Steel actually played instead. But again, we were lucky because that show was in '85, and they were already playing songs from Raining Blood. So we were able to hear like LOA songs prior to the album coming out, and we were able to hear like Raining Blood songs prior to the album coming out. My favorite Slayer songs is all from those like 3 first album. I listen to I'm a huge Slayer fan, and I don't have a choice. If a new album comes out, I always go and get it, and I need to hear what they're doing. I was not happy with South of Heaven at first. I was not mature enough to understand the transition. I thought like it was not as heavy, and then now these days, South of Heaven, the song, is one that I often go back to and listen to and enjoy. But at the time, I thought they had like watered down their sound. They were not as evil. Same as Seasons in the Abyss, and now I can appreciate more. Favorite Slayer songs, I love Untitled the Chapel. I think that riff is just like so ugly that it's freaking beautiful. Chemical Warfare, The Antichrist, Altar Sacrifice. But my favorite all-time Slayer song, it will never change. It's At Dawn They Sleep.
Nice.
When he goes into like blood-sucking creatures of the night, it's just so like perfect. That's it. Like I don't know. I can't tell more stories, but it would involve things that we should not be talking about. But anyway, Slayer. That's the stories for now. We can get the guys from DBC to come in again and talk about their Slayer.
Those were some good stories for sure.
Hey, Steve. Noah wants to say hi to you, man.
I see him there. Hey, what's up?
What's happening?
What's going on, brother?
Cool ass room.
We try to have cool ass rooms, and sometimes it's even cooler. But it's good to have you. What's your favorite Slayer song, or don't you have one?
What's the name of the band?
What's the name of the band?
What's the name of the band?
God Send Death. Yeah, that's my favorite.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey,
we'll give him a pass.
All right.
Go play with your girlfriend.
Go play with your girlfriend. Was that for me? I don't have a girlfriend here. I'm sorry.
No, I'm talking to him. He's walking out the door.
I thought you were.
He wanted to say hi quick. He was walking out the door. Sorry to interrupt.
Good. So I guess it's your turn anyhow, Brad, since we popped over, and it's nice to see your son, Noah.
Oh, cool,
Remember,
man.
like a little tiny kid, and now he's all grown up. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing how time flies, man. But yeah, I mean, Slayer. I mean, when I started playing guitar, I mean, I hit on this when I did the Van Halen show with you guys, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of really bouncing around from genre to genre. I mean, I started out playing blues and then like the hard rock stuff and stuff. But I remember my friends always asking me, like, you know, what do you want to play? You know, what genre? And I didn't know what they were talking about. But I always kept telling them, I was like, I don't think my music's been invented yet. You know, and I would always say that because I was always learning parts of songs, and it was always the heavier parts, but I didn't realize I liked the heaviness of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until high school where a buddy of mine literally handed me 2 albums, and he was just like, dude, you could have these, man. It's like, this is way too heavy for me. He was more into like the punk scene, you know, he was with Subhumans and Misfits and shit. So he hands me Metallica's Ride the Lightning on vinyl and Slayer Hell Awaits.
Wow.
And I was just like, holy shit. You know, this is freaking awesome. I went and played those albums back to back and back to back. Yeah. And I knew right there that's what I wanted to play. And I went and got their whole back catalog and, you know, saw them on every freaking show I could possibly see them on, you know. So, I mean, for me, it's kind of like Robin with Van Halen. I love every freaking album they ever did, you know, every song. I mean, it comes on my list on Pandora or Spotify or whatever. I'm listening to all of them. So I don't care. But my band Must Not Kill actually covered a Disciple back in the day when I was in, you know, in Middletown there and playing in some of my first bands. We were always covering like Black Magic and Show No Mercy and Die by the Sword was another big one. We always did all that old stuff. I've seen them probably on every tour that possibly rolled around. I know I've seen them with you, Steve, you know, a bunch of times. And
yeah, it's amazing how many tours we've seen with them. And trying.
I mean, when I worked with you, it seemed like when I worked with you, I think we went to shows like every other weekend, and we were always going to somewhere to go check out somebody, and it was usually Slayer.
Brad worked at the shop. What was it like? What were the years you worked? It was like early 90s, correct?
Yeah, it was
late 80s, early 90s.
I think it was late 80s until like even the mid 90s. And even when I was touring, you were always gracious enough to give me some hours at the store when I was home.
Yeah.
And I worked there. Yeah. So that was always cool of you, man. I always appreciated that.
Well, thank you. You were a big part of the store for years, you know. We got 2 employees in the hall tonight.
Yeah, man. Levin there. But you know, I mean, Slayer really formed how I write music and how I think about you know constructing songs and you know arrangements and stuff like that. It really made me go into that direction of playing, and then you know I never looked back. You know, it was always heavier and heavier and heavier, and anything I could get my hands on, I was always playing it, and it was always usually Slayer. No matter what album came out, it was in my collection. So big influence on me, huge, and got to play with them a couple times. I did the Mayhem Fest a couple times. Actually 4 years in a row with Must Not Kill, and Slayer was on it twice. So it was pretty awesome to play with those guys, and you know. I don't know. I mean, so many stories. You know, you think back of, you know, how many times I've seen them, how many times I've met them, and you know, even working at Dean Guitars, you know, and Kerry King's on the roster now. And, you know, getting to meet him at the shop and told a few of those stories with him. He seemed to enjoy it, so it's pretty cool. So that's it with me with Slayer, man. So move on.
Well, I guess I'll talk a little bit about what I have written down here, and I'll throw it over to Robin, and we'll go back around the bend and see what else we can talk about tonight about Slayer. I kind of went through just listening to looking at albums, and I was going to start off Show No Mercy, songs from that album that really struck me. And I mean, I love the whole album. I think some of these albums are just perfect albums, but Die by the Sword, Black Magic are the two songs I kind of picked off of that album. Chemical Warfare from the EP, Up a Hell Awaits, and At Dawn They Sleep, which a lot of people have talked about tonight already. And of course, Rain and Blood, I think, is another one of the perfect albums. I was lucky enough to see, Rain and Blood originally. Then I got to see them a lot when they were doing that Ozfest with Dimmu Borgir as a Judas Priest and original Black Sabbath, which I thought was like the best Ozfest ever. And I got to see them on an off date. Teddy Etol, who books bands up in the Albany and Capital.
Oh yeah, I did shows one. Yeah,
we used to do an aggressive music fresh. I can't say it now. I got it mixed up with Danny's band, but an aggressive music fest he called it. And that was when Ozfest was big, and he'd pull an off day of Ozfest, and he would get some of the bands from the Ozfest tour, and then throw like a hardcore show. And that was at the big, the rather big Glens Falls Civic Center, which I used to see many shows at. And that day we went, and Slayer was there, was part of that off date, and Slayer was doing the whole Rain and Blood in its entirety. And my wife and I walked in, and we got our beer, and it was a side seat, like a side of the stage. And I just remember watching Lombardo like the whole time, just like that's what I was into. I saw him so many times. I said, I just want to watch Dave play. And it was just amazing to sit on the side of the stage and see them. From South of Heaven, I'm going to go with Behind the Crooked Cross. I always loved that song. War Ensemble off of Seasons of Abyss. You can't go wrong with that. And I said pick 5 songs. I picked way more than that. I got to see them a bunch of times on their final tour. I got to see them with a good friend of mine who also is a friend of Robin's, Digger, Dale Caldwell, was hanging out here. He does the Ren fairs in the summer. And he was, hey, Steve, you got tickets for the Slayer show. The Behemoth was there, and he's buddies with them. And he was up here by himself. So he texted me when he gets to the parking lot. I'm like, yeah, I got a ticket. He goes, well, what do you got? He goes, I got passes. So I got a pass, and I got to hang out back there. It was Kerry King's birthday that night, and it was also.
I was there.
You were there, yeah, and I didn't know you. I mean, I knew you because I put a million T-shirts from you. You know who I was.
I know you, yeah.
But, we had a good time that night, and it was someone from Behemoth's birthday that night too. I can't remember who. There was a birthday party for him, and I didn't stay for the Kerry King. I would have stayed the whole night, but I had like 5 guys in the car with me that didn't want to sit in the parking lot while I was hanging out backstage for the rest of the night. And I also got to meet Slayer. I had met them a couple times, but I didn't do the meet and greet. I was a fan, and I saw them at Wilkes-Barre, which was on that next leg when Napalm Death was on the road with them instead of Behemoth.
Yeah.
And that was a great show. I mean, that was at that Wilkes-Barre arena, Civics, not the Civic Center, the amphitheater, which is the Toyota Pavilion, I think it's called now. They change with the corporate sponsors every so often, but it was a lighter crowd, and we were right up front for the whole show, and it was just a really good experience. And then the last time I ever saw Slayer, we drove to Camden, New Jersey, and it was part of the farewell tour, but I thought it was one of the strong lineups from that too. It was Slayer, Lamb of God, who seemed to be just their perennial touring mates on those tours. Amon Amarth, who I was big on and still am, and of course Cannibal Corpse being the warm-up act that day. And we thought that was great. We drove, on a Memorial Day, I think it was Memorial Day weekend, we drove from here. It took us hours to get to that place because the traffic was going, everybody heading to the shore and whatnot. But that was the last time
I saw you there, Steve.
You were there too, right?
Yep.
I thought it was great seeing Cannibal playing
It's awesome.
the amphitheater, and Amon Amarth had a great stage show there too that day. And
yeah, that was a great show.
And I mean, other memorable times with Slayer, times that, like we talked about, the Chance shows when they came to Middletown and played the Orange County Fair Speedway with the Clash of the Titans, which I had the unknown act named Alice in Chains.
Yep.
In the store that day through the record label, and no one knew really who they were. And like they went and performed with all the thrash metal bands, and were getting stuff pelted at them, and no one.
I think that happened at every tour date for them, because when I saw that, it was in a different location, and the same thing happened to Alice in Chains. And I actually liked Alice in Chains because I saw them before that, before they did that. So I was like excited that Alice in Chains was on that tour as well.
It was supposed to be Motorhead, wasn't it? Didn't let me break his ankle or some crap.
That was the
that's another.
Motorhead was the Operation Rock and Roll tour, which they did start, but then Lemmy did break something, and they had to bow out of the rest of the tour. I know they talked to Death Angel and Danzig about opening the Clash of the Titans tour, and I don't know how they wound up with Alice in Chains.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, Alice in Chains fan. I thought they were great, but I felt, but being on that lineup,
no
it was pretty brutal.
People were not kind to them on it.
No, they weren't when we saw them either.
I mean, it was Slayer, and Megadeth, and Anthrax, and people were going there wanted thrash metal. They didn't know who they were, and it's a tough crowd opening for Slayer.
Yeah.
That's like back in the day.
That's why Megadeth refused to come on after Slayer. That's why on the East Coast shows, Anthrax always closed. Megadeth's like, well, we'll play any slot, but we don't want to come in after Slayer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And Brad is talking about the Operation Rock and Roll here in Middletown, New York. Operation Rock and Roll tour, which was Motorhead, Alice Cooper, Judas Priest.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
But at the Middletown show, Motorhead had already dropped out because Lemmy had already gotten hurt. So Metal Church and Dangerous Toys each played extra songs.
We were I was at the Meadowlands Arena like a week before, and Motorhead was on.
Motorhead did play that one, right?
Maybe a show or two before Middletown. So we were so disappointed. I remember, because it was our hometown, and we were getting Motorhead. Like we were so happy when we hear these dates. And Motorhead didn't play, but it was still, a great tour.
I was really bummed out.
That's what you were talking about. I got to meet a lot of people.
They blend together.
Oh yeah.
We got to hang out with Metal Church that night. I mean, that was just a great afternoon. I got to hang out with Alice Cooper. Alice Cooper, no photos, please. I didn't get my picture with Alice.
That sucks.
But, I guess we're going to move over to certainly not the least, but she is last. She is the last in line tonight. Robin Mazen, welcome.
Hi. So it's I mean, I always talk about like Van Halen and Metallica is like my favorite, but Slayer is like up there in my top favorite bands of all times. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, no matter what show you go to, you could be at Barry freaking Manilow and somebody in the crowd's gonna yell Slayer or Freebird. Like it doesn't matter. It's always like Slayer wherever you go. It doesn't matter. It's like just that, I mean, come on. That's
why I always do a Slayer cover, man.
Yeah, it's like you cannot go wrong with the Slayer cover. I mean, Brad, I do Thrash Attack, and we do like how many Slayer songs?
Oh my God, you guys got
every single one of them. I want to say.
You guys are the human jukebox, man. I mean, you guys play everything.
The set list on the wall is like probably 500 songs.
Oh it's ridiculous.
It's so many Slayer songs, And even with Dercada, we played like a sideshow at Maryland Death Fest, and we played South of Heaven specifically because it was the day of Jeff's funeral. So we played that song for him, and that was great. And even Gruesome, we did the cover of Black Magic,
nice.
Which I was like super stoked on. But I mean, we chose it mostly because Jeff did, cover of Black Magic, so it was only appropriate. But I freaking love that song, and I love playing that song, and it's phenomenal. I don't even know where to start. It's like, we're talking about.
I've got a question for you, Robin, because we thought that Chris Alo had the most events of seeing Slayer in the room, but you have passed him. And they make
I cannot even.
How many shows have you been with Slayer seeing or working with? That's what we were trying to.
It's probably over 300. It's got to be 300. I don't even know. I've been fortunate enough, to see Slayer so many times, even before I started touring, and then, once my first tour that they were on, it was like 2009, I want to say.
Okay.
but I knew, like, I was friends with Johnny Araya for years before, because we used to tour together with Kitty.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, well.
that's where I met him originally back then, you know. So like we were always friends. So like I had a relationship with him as a friend and colleague.
Yeah.
So, you know, whenever Slayer came into town, even back then, I got to know, you know, them and hang out and stuff and all that. And actually the sound guy on Kitty also is a sound guy on Slayer. So it was like there was a lot of Kitty Slayer crew people. So, you know, I was fortunate to always have like some Slayer connection in my life, and
Cool.
you know, and people that I admire and that I love to this day and everything. But yeah, and I saw the last show also at the Forum. I actually, what's crazy is I never show anything, but I have my,
She's got a prop. She's got a prop.
I have so many Slayer, I have so much Slayer things, I don't even know. But if I could even get it off of here, I might not be able to get it off of here.
What is it? What is it?
I wasn't
What is it?
prepared. My Slayer laminate from the last
Oh,
show.
Nice.
So yeah, I was on tour, but we like the booking agent was smart to put a day off before the last show, so we all went to Slayer for the last show in LA.
Okay.
And I remember everybody telling me, "Oh my God, this set was phenomenal. They broke out all these classics. You're gonna shit your pants. You know, it's so amazing." And then I got this set list that was the same set list that they've been playing.
Yeah,
forever.
that was really disappointing.
But you know, like I was like, but everybody built it up so much, and I was like, wait, where's all the old, like, where's the songs that I'm supposed to be hearing? I don't like, what the fuck? But I mean, I understand because like I could tell, I mean, seeing Slayer so many times, I could tell that they were kind of like just like rah, like everything was kind of like whatever, this is it, and you know, kind of thing. I mean, I enjoyed the show still, but and I did cry. I know it's shocking for some people that watch this because I cry all the time about something, but
What?
I cry about when I get excited or you know about metal. But yeah, it was kind of weird. Like when Kerry dropped his chains, it was just like, oh fuck, man. Like you knew it was
It's
just
over.
like, oh. But I mean, it was great nonetheless, and I was so glad I was able to see that because I wanted to go to that show no matter what anyway. And I did see him on Motorboat also, which was awesome.
Oh, that was so much fun.
It was so good. It was so good. But yeah, I mean, I've seen that. I can't even count.
You were saying
honestly. I mean,
you did the Mayhem tours with them. You did.
Yeah, they were. I did. I mean, I was with other bands, but I did. Yeah. So many tours with Slayer and actually with Gruesome, we opened up for them at a festival that they were on, which was awesome. Also, so that was kind of cool. I was pretty nervous about that one. It was weird, you know, because like they never see me play. I always watch them, so it was like kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
I was the same way. I was the exact same way when I got to play, even though, you know, we went on pretty early on the one show, and then on the next one, we actually got a later spot on the band, but it was weird. I've done a million shows, you know, I performed, you know, touring and everything, but I knew Slayer was on it. And yeah, I got like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I got like all jittery, you know?
I mean, not everybody was there, but a couple of the guys came down early because they knew like that I was there. And of course the whole crew was there all day. So it was kind of,
yeah.
And then it turned into a disaster for me by the end of the night because as if any of you know out there, like there's a lot of, you know, stuff, and I got pretty messed up, and people still make fun of me. I was lost in Holland somewhere that night. It was a mess. But anyway, I remember like I can't remember like what really got me into Slayer. It was just one of those bands I was always there, and it was like, oh my god. And I do remember me and a group of my friends, we were sitting at a park, and it was Rain and Blood at the local store. They were releasing it at midnight,
Okay. Yeah.
And we had a gigantic boom box and we sat there and we had one guy that had a car go to the store and go buy it on, and he brought it back on cassette and we put it on and we sat there underage drinking and doing other stuff and,
Yeah.
you know, sitting in the park and put on Rain and Blood. And we were just like, holy shit. And I just remember, this is my memory. I cannot say if this is accurate fact or not, because I mean, this has been my memory for so many years. That as soon as Rain and Blood started, it thundered and it started pouring out and we were all just like, holy shit. It was like, you know, insanity. So I know like, it was probably not like that. Like if somebody had a video camera and looked back at it, we were probably just like sitting there just like, dude, you know, but it was like, you know what I mean? But
Those moments that you just remember stick in your head.
my memory of it was like completely cartoonish and insane.
Yeah.
That's my memory of it. But as far as songs go, holy, like, man, I mean, I could pick my top 3, which isn't even really my top 3, but I mean, I fucking love pretty much everything that they've done, even up until the last record. I know, like, I mean, I don't care. They're just so like amazing. The only ones that I would have to say that I always said that I was just like kind of like they lost me was like that Diabolus was kind of like I was lost on that one.
That was the weakest one, I think.
And
I agree.
Yeah, it was kind of like that was the only one. Like, I mean, Undisputed and Divine were a little bit, but Diabolus kind of just, I was like, that album could have just been kind of removed from, you know, their albums for me personally. I don't know, maybe there's somebody out there that feels differently and I'm gonna get a hate mail saying that I'm stupid, but
Diabolical music is their best album, Robin. Yes, it's your best album. What are you saying?
Yeah, you're stupid.
That's definitely their Never Say Die, that's for sure.
What?
I said that's
Never Say Die.
Never Say Die.
No, Never Say Die. That's way better than that.
Never Say Die, one of the best Black Sabbath albums ever written.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean. Like,
no, that's more like in the Forbidden. They're Forbidden.
Forbidden's the worst one. Forbidden is heads and tails the worst Black Sabbath album. Please chime in, viewers, on the comments on that one, please.
Well, just be nice to me when I say I think Diabolus wasn't that fantastic.
No, when we did a ranking,
it sucks. I'll say it.
We did a ranking.
It was a terrible album.
And that was everybody's last.
So I mean, but am I gonna come back around and pick my other songs that I like?
Pick your favorite off Diablos.
I'm gonna pick every song off Diablos.
But we come
All right,
back.
I'm gonna get I'm gonna get a phone call and get yelled at by somebody. I'm sure.
All right, cool.
But yeah, those are my, like, I can share so many freaking stories, but I can't at the same time. I just like, yeah. I mean, again, Slayer. That's all.
PG versions. But the Echo Robin, like talking about, like, I didn't cry, but I had this weird feeling, like when I went to see those final tours. And I was revisiting some of the places where I spent a lot of time, like PNC and the amphitheater in Camden, because we used to go to Ozfest every year then, and other big concerts. And I said, where did that time go? Like from the early 2000s to seeing Slayer there, to see him there on their final tour. It was just like, it's over after this. It's like we were always talking about the arena bands and like how they're disappearing from our lives, and then
I am so upset that they're
leave, and I just like, where did that time go? And just walking around, and like especially Lamb of God there, it felt like I was still at Ozfest, because it seemed like Lamb of God was doing almost the same set that they did at the Ozfest 20 years ago. I'm like, this is like deja vu. And I remember walking around, and I'm drinking pretty good at those shows, of course, as I do. And I'm walking around, and between like a Lamb of God, I didn't really care. I see him so many times. I thought, I'm just going to go walk around and get a cheesesteak or something in Philly and at the Camden place. And it was just like, it was surreal. And, it's sad that we'll never get to see their energy on stage. And for the younger kids that may be watching this, that have never seen them, it's just sad that we won't get to see that again.
I can't even believe it. It makes me so bummed out.
Oh,
like-
nice. I got one of those, Steve. That's awesome.
Oh.
From
Yeah.
Super 7. Yeah, I
Nice.
saw those at Rock Fantasy.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I didn't see it. What
It's
was
a
it?
cardboard. It's
Oh,
Steve showing it. I have
Yeah, it's
I
like
have
the
Super
70s
toy.
superhero cardboard figures that they're jointed so you can move them around.
Oh, cool.
And they were,
I
and
didn't-
I mean,
didn't see that.
they were also based on the old Halloween like witches and the old
Yeah.
Santa Clauses that would come like that from back in the day. And Super 7's done a great job of doing like a Slayer one. They did like,
I got the Misfits one too.
I got the Slayer guy.
Yeah.
and they got,
Mhm.
they did.
You got
the
those?
He-Man.
You got those at the store, Steve?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, my wife's up there. I'll have her swing by.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she's out visiting her mom. So yeah, I'll have her swing by
Nice,
and
nice.
grab them. That's cool. Yeah, I like to have
That's
that.
That's the other thing. Like I probably have out of shirts. I mean, I have so many shirts, but I want to say my Slayer shirt collection's utterly ridiculous because even like on the tour, I would get every single shirt that they had in 2 different sizes just so that I would have it, and not to mention like all like the trinkety things. And then I would also, I shouldn't say it, I would pick through all the bootleg merch that was like confiscated.
That's awesome.
But I shouldn't say that,
Nice.
but it was like I would pick through it. I did. I'm sorry. It didn't get sold, but I had to have some of it because some of it was like so terrible and amazing at the same time. I had to own it.
Yeah,
And I'm
bootleg
sorry.
shirt-
Did you? Was there a
bootleg
nightgown
shirts
though?
are-
I
bootleg
didn't. I
shirts-
don't have a damn nightgown. I'm
All right.
pissed about that.
Bootleg
I don't
shirts
have
are
that.
terrible and are amazing at the same time. Yes, they're terrible.
But I mean, I do have like, yeah. I didn't buy the bootlegs. I got to say, they were confiscated items.
You had to throw them out, so I
We
understand.
had to throw them out.
Yeah, she was in charge of putting them in a dumpster.
I'm not gonna like.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Sorry. I might get in trouble for that, but I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
You're in trouble now. So I guess
Like,
we're
I mean,
gonna-
I would come back, like, I would come back with like 40 shirts a tour,
Wow.
just Slayer
Wow.
shirts. Because I
right.
have to have everything. It was just like,
The last time I did something like that, I didn't go for a show for a while, and I got to see Iron Maiden on the Book of Souls down at Newark, New Jersey, and I was pretty lit up, and it was them and Ghost, and bought a couple shirts inside, and then on the way out, like everybody was selling parking lot. There was tons of them, and it was like they were $5, and I don't know how when I got home the next day and I went out to my car, I was like, holy pile of Iron Maiden shirts that I bought in the parking lot for $5 a piece. But,
Awesome.
okay.
cool. But anyhow, we're gonna
Okay.
move back to John. Hello, John. How are you?
Hello. Good.
Back to the show.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any personal stories about Slayer, but I do remember, I think I mentioned on here already, at the Meadowlands, crossing that tube in the parking lot and banging on the side and yelling Slayer and getting everybody amped up. It didn't matter what show you were going to, it just just go and start slamming on the side of the wall, make a big bang and just start yelling Slayer, and everybody would start banging on the wall and yelling Slayer, and it would just get it was just like we just like to start the riot, and then we'll just like get off on the side or whatever and watch.
And for
But,
those people that aren't familiar, at the Meadowlands Arena, which is across the river from New York City, if you were in the parking lot, you see the skyline. And across one of the highways, they had a little tunnel where actually you had to park where Giant Stadium was and walk over the tunnel to the smaller parking lot for the actual arena. And that's why they put the roof on that, because people used to throw bottles and stuff onto the road. And and that's a good story.
Yeah, we were Hellraisers back then,
And I tell you what, that's another thing about a Slayer concert. Like when you were leaving, it was just the thing to do. If you're walking down the streets of New York City, getting out of the garden, just yelling Slayer at the top of your lungs, and everybody yelling it on the street. It was just something that we'll never see again,
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Yeah, another thing is when I seen them, it was in '87 at Lemore's. It was right when it was for Raining Blood. I remember they started off with Raining Blood, and they did the dun 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 dun, and I thought it was gonna be Tony Scaglione on drums, but what it was like, I guess it was like one of the first, maybe the first show or one of the first shows with Lombardo back, and all of a sudden the light shines on him and he kind of holds up his drumsticks, and you know it
Yeah.
was just the place just went crazy or whatever, so it was a cool surprise, because I didn't know that Dave Lombardo was back in the band. I was expecting Tony, which I still thought was a good drummer, but I was super psyched. I just remember it was one of those moments that was just like, hell yeah, you just, knew that was going to be a sick show. And it was an amazing show, mind blowing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so I guess I'll just go to my next couple picks of songs. It's really tough. And it's
It
tough
is.
to choose. I really like Show No Mercy. There's a lot of great songs on that one. And man, I'm looking at the list now, and every song is great on that album.
Yeah.
But I think maybe I'll pick Fight Till Death. I mean that's just a killer one, I mean, but they're all killer on that. So and so I'll pick that as my number 3. My number 2. Man, I think I could go with Hell Awaits for my number 2. I mean, that's just a classic.
Right.
I mean, when that starts off, you just know that you're fucked, Just that drum, you hear that drum fill, and it's just like, it's yeah, everybody knows. So yeah, and I mean, Raining Blood isn't my favorite. Hell Awaits is probably my favorite album, but I didn't pick anything off Raining Blood, so I'm gonna it's a tough one too. I mean, I have to go with either Criminally Insane or Postmortem. I mean, both of those. I mean, the whole album's great too. That's one of those albums that you really don't listen to one track. You usually just listen to the whole album. It's 30 minutes long, and everything just flows into everything perfectly on an album. I mean, Raining Blood.
Is it even 30 minutes? It's like 28 minutes.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's short.
but it's just like nonstop quality throughout the whole. There's like no weak riff on that album. It's the whole thing it just kicks your ass. It's a good statement of an album, and actually it was a smart thing to do after Hell Awaits, because Hell Awaits was more of an epic-y sounding album, and this one was more just like a 1-2 punch and out of here, and this made you wanting more, waiting for South to Heaven to come out and stuff. So it was a smart idea. So I don't know. I'll just go with Postmortem as my favorite, but I mean every song off Raining Blood rules. I mean, for full disclosure, I really don't like anything they've done after Music and Diablos. I mean, there's a couple of good, okay albums after that, but none of it ever hit me the same way as the early stuff. It's not that it's bad. It just to me, I don't know. It at a certain point, it just became, to me, it became just, okay, it's Slayer, it's good, but it doesn't blow my mind.
Sorry, I got a question. Because when I think about that, and I mean, I understand that completely, and I feel that way, but I feel like it depends. Like, I'm just wondering, like a young person that's their first exposure, say, to God Hates Us All, they're gonna think like that's the best record. Is it because we're spoiled because we heard the original before, like the older stuff, and know like, holy shit, and there was a progression in that way. Everybody else, like the younger people, have to go backwards. So
someone might have discovered.
I agree.
World Painted Blood, or of course.
I agree 100%, because after seeing Slayer in the 80s and early 90s, seeing Slayer in the 2000s, it doesn't match up. I mean, it's not that they're terrible, by no means is it bad. It's just that they just kicked my ass so hard back in the early days that when I watch them play, it just doesn't have that same fire. I mean, they're probably better than almost any other thrash band out there still, even to this day. But I just don't, even on the final tour, it was good, but it didn't blow my mind. It didn't blow my mind like when I seen them, in even in like 90 or something like that. And I even thought that when they did, what year was it when they did that Hell Awaits, not Hell Awaits, the Raining Blood album in full? I seen that.
That was 2002, if I
It was in the
remember.
early
No, it was
2000s.
later than 2002 for sure.
2004, the 2004 Ozfest is
2004
No.
was the Ozfest, but they didn't do it on the Ozfest.
I didn't see it on the Ozfest. I seen him in like outside of Pittsburgh, some like
They did it on that
Hockey
off
rink.
day of the Ozfest.
It was like, I want to
see.
say it was like 2007. Was it?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Chris is looking it up
2004.
right
I'm
now.
looking up right now.
Was it?
2004.
Well,
Okay.
I saw. Let's see.
That was when they did that, the whole blood and
With
everything.
the
That
blood
was,
Yeah.
coming on their heads.
That
I
was,
feel like it was later than that though, because
yeah. I'm
I
not
feel like it
sure,
was later than that.
but I just remember that was the last time that I seen him, that I
Chris is
still
on it.
felt that fire of the older Slayer or whatever. That was my best time seeing him. I guess I'll say later day Slayer, but on the reunion tour was okay, but I just don't like the newest album. I don't like. I don't even know what it's called or whatever, but I just
Repentless.
it just doesn't do it for me. And some of those songs, I just don't like it. I think at a certain point they, instead of being Slayer, they copped a little bit too much from some of the more modern bands like Slipknot and stuff like that. And I don't want to hear that with Slayer. I want to hear Slayer just pounding it out, So not that I, want to slag Slayer, because I respect Slayer a lot, but there is stuff that they did that it just doesn't
Wasn't your cup of tea.
doesn't do it for me. But I can understand it if I was younger and I listened to God Hates Us All or something as my first Slayer album. I totally get it that would be a great thing to great album to jam out to. But yeah. So anyway, that's my rant, and I'm sticking with it.
Cool, John.
So Diablo
stand behind
is
that.
your favorite album.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I do like that album they did of the cover songs was pretty cool.
Undisputed is good.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was probably the last full one that I really liked. That album. I didn't go to the show when they played in Cleveland. I was living there, but I couldn't afford to get in. But I stood by the side door and listened to it, and it sounded like a great live show.
Yeah, how many people in the room have actually gone to shows but stood outside just because they couldn't get in or it was too crowded? I just wanted to be part of the scene and hang out outside. I've done that a bunch of times at shows, especially local ones here in town. We used to work at the clubs.
Yeah, I mean, I was like homeless at that time, so I mean, I just wanted to at least listen to it from outside, if nothing else,
Yeah.
Some of the Cleveland clubs was so easy to sneak in and stuff, but the Odeon I couldn't do. They were too
sneak it in that time.
I couldn't sneak into there, I don't think Robin was working the show, so I couldn't even bug her to get in.
So not back then. Sorry.
Yeah. I know.
Well, guess what? We have a newcomer that showed up tonight, and we'll give him a pass because he's in the Mighty Possessed and the Mighty Gruesome, and Dan Gonzalez has joined the chat tonight. And
what's up, bro?
And I guess if you'd like to go, or if you're ready, do you want a little more time? Do you want to hop right in and tell us your selection?
Whatever. What are we doing? How many songs?
We're picking our favorite song off Metal Off Diablos or whatever that album.
Yeah.
We were doing like 5 songs or whatever. We're just kind of ad-lib tonight. We're just talking about concert memories and some of our favorite songs or albums we like or dislike. Just kind of.
Well, one of my favorite Slayer songs is Aggressive Perfector, which was in one of the Metal Massacre compilation, and they re-recorded years later, but they used to play it live a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Have this bootleg from Belgium from like 84, 85.
That's a good one.
Dude, and like, I mean, the set list is amazing, but the way they play those songs there, wow, it's amazing. They play 'em so fast and like so brutal, like it's like relentless. So that song is fucking amazing. It's kind of weird because it's very simple. It's kind of have like a very punk like um song structure to it, but it fucking kills, you know. Final Command, that's another great song. I love the final scream, Final Command. You know, I can't even do it.
That's great.
We want your best Tom Araya right now. Come on, Dan.
And I guess I'll go kind of chronologically since it'll be easier since like I just hop in. So, where was I? I mean, I love the classics like the Antichrist and stuff like that. But from Show No Mercy, definitely Final Command is probably my favorite song. Chemical Warfare, it's another classic that I love. I love that EP, Haunting the Chapel.
Yeah.
I mean, Hell Awaits, like the song Hell Awaits it's so epic. Like it's has like the longest intro ever, but it's like
yeah,
like great riffing and when the riffs are that good, it doesn't matter how long the intro is,
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Kill Again, that's another classic for sure. I mean, I would say the whole Raining Blood album, of course, is a masterpiece, but definitely Piece by Piece, Altar of Sacrifice, Jesus Saves, it's probably my favorite ones. Well, even Postmortem and Raining Blood also, but I know probably Angel of Death should be one of them, but I mean, I love that song, but not as much as the other ones. Because what I like about the other ones is they're like short and brutal and fast, and they don't let you go. They just keep going and going and short and sweet. I mean, I can keep talking for a while. I don't know if somebody else, needs a spot. I don't know if everybody went already.
We're going to come back and finish the show up with you, Dan, and we'll go around, and we're starting to go around our final round, and we'll come back and have you close it up. You and Robin will close up the show tonight. So move back over to Mr. Chris Alo for a second round. I don't know if you have any more information you want to give us. Or,
yeah, when we were, Robin was talking about the tour where they did Rain and Blood. That was 2003.
Was it 2003? It feels like that was so early.
Nope, that was, I remember I had said 2002 because I was like, oh, I saw them at Wacken that year. And that was the first time I saw them do it, but it was actually, I saw them at Wacken in 2003. And they hadn't announced yet that they were going to do a tour. And I looked up the dates, and I saw them multiple times on that tour, but October 22nd, 2003, they did the Mid-Hudson Civic Center, and they did a 12-song set, and they ended the set with South of Heaven, and then when they came back for the encore, the first encore was Angel of Death, and then they went through and played the rest of Raining Blood.
When was the Orlando show?
Say again?
Can you look up, or I can look it up, but when the Orlando show
Atlanta 2003.
I feel like I can't even believe it was 2000. I felt like it was like 2007.
Yeah, no, and then 2000. What always confuses people is the 2003 tour was the tour where they played all of the Rain and Blood album, but it was 2004 when they came back and they didn't play the whole Rain and Blood album, but they did that Raining Blood gimmick, like kind of Guar.
Yeah, when it like yeah, I remember.
But I'm looking here right now. Slayer played Atlanta on November 5th, 2003, and they did the same exact set that they did in Mid-Hudson. So they ended with South of Heaven, the song, And then when they came back for the encore, they did the entire Rain and Blood album.
Okay. I just remember I just remember a lot of Jägermeister going around.
Oh, sure.
That
That tour and the following tour, that was definitely, those were Jägermeister sponsored tours. But yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know what more can be said about Slayer. I mean, my personal farewell story, I got to, I've met them all, interviewed them all multiple times, but I got to do the meet and greet thing and take a photo with them on the second to last show, which was really cool. Gary Holt loved my battle vest because he's like, oh man, he's like, every other dude here has a battle vest of all fucking obscure bands, but my battle vest was nothing but horror movies. It was all patches from Dawn of the Dead and Zombie and Friday the 13th, and he just thought that was super cool. But my horror story, talking about horror movies, you know, after the show, I went back to the hotel. The next day, I was cleaning up my hotel room, and then I was going to go back to the LA Forum to see Slayer the next night. And I was cleaning up, and I grabbed some papers, and I ripped them, and I threw them in the garbage. And I was like, where's my ticket?
Oh,
You know, and I kept looking, and I had ripped my Slayer ticket for the last ever Slayer show. And I wanted to kill myself. So I didn't know what to do. So in a panic, I called Ticketmaster and I just lied and said that the ticket never came in the mail. And they were like, oh, don't worry, we'll deactivate your ticket that you never got. Just come to the box office and we'll have another one waiting there for you. But to back up a little bit, the night before on the next tonight's show, I was with some guy, and you know, not that I was with some guy, but I'm talking to some guy in the stands. He was in the good seats, like Robin, like you were, you know, the next night. And he's telling me, and I forget who he worked for, but he's like, oh yeah, he's like, Kerry King's got a band now with Phil from Pantera and Paul's on drums. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. I hadn't heard of that rumor before. He's like, yeah, they got a record coming out, blah, 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 blah. The next night, so I ripped my ticket up by accident. I have to go pick up the replacement ticket, and I go to the box office, and once I get the ticket, it was behind the stage, you know, and I could hear them rehearsing. And I was like, all of a sudden, like, well, holy shit, they were playing, God, I wrote it down somewhere in my notes, but they were playing something off Seasons of the Abyss. It might have been the song Seasons of the Abyss, but Phil was doing vocals.
Wow.
And I thought that was the coolest thing, that he was, you know, sound checking with the band. And I got money together because I was like, shit, if like somebody comes out, I'm totally going to give them money to let me go in the door just to watch them. But nobody came out, so I just had to listen from the outside. But I thought that was super cool to hear Slayer with Phil. I remember they jammed some Maiden, and they did a bunch of Slayer. They started to do Mouth for War. I remember that from Pantera. So it was kind of cool. But I always thought it was fascinating. Just from is it timing? Is it coincidence, or was there something else going on that Slayer did this massive farewell tour and they ended November 30th, 2019, but then literally within a few weeks the fucking world collapses.
Yeah, so it was all.
I mean, there's all these other bands that had these farewell tours, Kiss and Bob Seger and Elton John and all these other fucking acts. And everybody had their shit canceled, but I'm like, but Slayer got to actually pull it off. And I don't know if there's anything to that, but I think that's pretty interesting.
Well, they've released God Hates It All when the towers fell, and then when they broke up, we had a pandemic. So yeah, it's connected somehow, maybe.
Dark forces at work.
oh my God.
It's like, well, Slayer's done having concerts. We don't have to have concerts anymore, I guess.
That's it.
Yeah, that's how it worked. Sorry for all the people in bands today. Blame Slayer. I guess better call them up. Tell them maybe if they start up again and do a couple of reunion shows, that maybe then.
Don't hold your breath.
But that'll stop the pandemic. The power of Slayer.
Yeah.
I wish.
If that's secure, that's what we need. We need some aggressive music. we'll have to listen to, we'll have to have Incantation and Gruesome and Possessed for now, and let's keep us going from this episode, and Aggression, of course, with Sasquatch. So, Chris, what are you all wrapped up there? Do you want me to-
Yeah. It doesn't matter. My other favorite songs are Temptation, Gemini, and At Dawn They Sleep.
Oh, Gemini. Okay.
Yeah, I love that song.
Interesting.
Gemini,
And,
wow.
I thought it was so cool that the second to last farewell show they did Gemini and Temptation and a bunch of other weird stuff.
Again, like I said, I'm very
Yeah.
upset. I'm still completely butthurt about that.
Well, I'm not in a band, and I've never been in a band. But in my head, you guys would know because you're all musicians. But I was like, all right. So did they? The second night, which was the farewell night, like, did they play the generic set list? Because those were the songs that they had played so much on that run, and they didn't want any mistakes.
But the thing is, and again, I shouldn't say anything because I'll get in trouble, but they made mistakes on those songs.
Okay.
Right. I
Right.
mean, you saw the show.
Yeah.
There was a lot of mistakes, and no
Right,
offense,
but I was just thinking,
phenomenal.
was that the mindset in advance to?
I don't know, and I never asked, and
Gotcha.
I wanted to, but I was
And
like, like I said, I was like so stoked because I was like, okay, they're pulling out all the stops, and then I was like, and then the songs that they've been playing for
Yep,
2
for the
years
last 2-3
straight,
years,
they
yeah.
didn't even they were just kind of like I mean, I get it, they had their mind on other things, and they were like, they were also like, emotional about everything ending, so they weren't 100% on point,
Right, and that's what I thought. I was like, okay, so I don't know because I've never been in a band, but that's what I thought. Maybe that's why they just.
Am I mistaken? But wasn't that night also broadcast like live, but you could watch it, or they recorded
No.
that?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No.
I was wondering if that happened. Everything, you would almost think that would have been something that they could have streamed or something. The final night of Slayer, and people would
Yeah.
watch it.
No, you're thinking of the movie that they did
they
that
did that
played
movie.
theaters and is now on Blu-ray. But
That's
that's not from that LA Forum show. That's from the year before or 2 years before.
That's what I'm confused with. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
That was
based.
that was the other Behemoth tour, I think, that
Yeah.
they recorded that.
Okay.
Sure that night they were probably like very emotional or
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, like I said, I saw them at least
Probably.
on that tour a lot, and that was probably like,
Oh, I don't know because I was touring Europe on the same tour, and I got to see him a couple. We played a couple of the same festivals, and they kicked ass like every time I saw them. So
Oh yeah.
that's what I mean. Like every time I've seen it, like, I mean, granted, there's always like a little bit of something happening because it's live, but that last show though, I was like, I mean, and
Yeah.
I'm getting off subject, not really getting off subject, but
Yeah, sure.
but I mean, they would all like, I always air drum to like every single Slayer show, like, and sometimes like I would have sticks even, and I'd just be like flailing and
Yeah.
doing whatever. And I remember trying to air drum to that last show, and I was like, what are they doing? Like, I was like, even like, what is happening here on some parts? It's like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, granted, I was a little buzzed too, so I can't
I
say
had
anything.
some friends on that final part of that final tour. They played a festival down in like Tennessee at the old Bonnaroo grounds or something. And I had friends that drove, the younger kids that were customers of mine, that drove all the way down there because they were so psyched. They're like, Slayers playing with Leonard Skinner.
Oh,
And
right. I remember that show.
They drove all the way down to that festival because they were big Slayer heads and they were big Skinner heads, and they thought.
Actually, Leonard Skinner did back-to-back with Slayer at Grass Pop and Hellfest, like right before the final.
Just a couple things you would not put together in your head, but I would enjoy both sets immensely. Skinner and Slayer.
I've actually seen Slayer do Freebird.
And I mean, there you go. And that's two things like we were talking about. Any concert, she said at Barry Manilow, someone's going to yell out Slayer, or somebody's going to yell out Freebird.
Freebird. So what? Try like seeing Slayer and Leonard Skinner back to back. It was very weird.
Well, Well, Skinner's still on their farewell tour, and they're
Yeah.
still playing. So yes, they're actually.
They should be finished in good 5 or 6 years from now.
Maybe, the Skinners are still dragging it out. Well, we didn't play that town yet, so we're gonna come back and do that one. But now we're way off topic. All right, cool.
All right.
That's fine, but that's why we're here. We're like hanging around the fire pit and we're talking about metal. So that's how these episodes usually work out, especially if I'm involved. So, so I guess we move over to Mr. Steve Levin. You're next in line.
So yeah, I just had a couple more Slayer stories I was thinking about while we were were discussing their Slayer stories. And one thing that I did remember is how hard it was. We were talking about how hard it was to open up for Slayer. And I can remember Testament when they first came over to the East Coast and met with John Z. They might have played a show under the name Legacy. It might have been when they first changed the name to Testament at L'Amour's. And they did get booed, and to the point where L'Amour's dropped the curtain on them. And I can still remember the curtain hitting Chuck Billy and Chuck coming out from behind the curtain and flipping off the whole audience. You know, fuck you guys suck, blah, blah. He was pretty uptight about it. But yeah, open up for Slayer was crazy back then. And I had realized there was a real change into the guard. Some point in the 2000s, Slayer played Mid-Hudson Civic Center. And I believe the band On Earth opened up for him. And
that's the one we were at.
Yeah, not a huge fan personally. I mean, you know, but I remember yelling Slayer, Slayer at the top of my lungs, and nobody joined in. I was like, what? I like looked at my kids. I was like, you don't understand. This is like, because that was actually their first concert. I kid.
I totally remember this whole incident. Yeah, I was sitting with you, I think. Yeah,
I was screaming Slayer, and you know, I'm thinking, oh, On Earth's going to get booed off stage now. Never happened. Never happened. The guy started doing curls with his guitar, and yeah, it was really kind of hurt my feelings. But going on. Whatever, it was a passing of time, you know. And another couple things is I was actually at that Ultimate Revenge show in 1985 with Exodus and Venom, and I don't think Venom it wasn't actually the full Venom. Something had happened. I don't think
Mantis didn't come over.
Yeah, and they actually had two other members. I think maybe one of the guys from Fist was playing guitar. And I don't even recall who else. It's too bad Tony isn't here because he probably wouldn't been able to remember who that was. And another one, and Brad, you can probably help me here, but for our friend Ralph's bachelor party, we all took a couple vans down to see Slayer. And I don't remember who it was, but I think it was a guy that you used to work with at Caroline, actually used to work at the Roseland, and we each gave him like $20 and he back. So we were in some back room hanging out with very eccentric crowd. Paris from the Cro-Mags was there, so I thought that was really cool. And that was one of the last times that I had actually seen Slayer. And that was the full band had gotten back together. Lombardo was with them. And I had a really, really nice spot right on the balcony overlooking. I was right on Jeff's side. And I used to always hang out on Kerry's side because when I was a kid, I kind of wanted to be Kerry King. Like he was just like when you saw him on stage, he was just the coolest. And yeah, I would have totally been cool with being Kerry King. And then years later, I find out that his birthday and my birthday are actually the same. So
wow,
like mind blown. Like all this time you think they're known. But one of the coolest things about Slayer for me personally is that when I first met my wife Kelly, she was going out with a guy that I was friends with, and I was trying to hang out with one of her friends. And for whatever reason, this guy went to a store or something. We were sitting in this van. We were hanging out talking. She had on a denim vest. And I looked on her vest, and she had like some random pins on there. I think one was Abattoir. And I can't even recall what else it was, but it was something that was pretty cool. But I was like an elitist metal snob, and it wasn't like anything 100% to my liking. But then she showed me some pictures. And the pictures that she showed me, there was a picture of her, and there was a hand-drawn Slayer thing on the wall. So I said to her, who likes Slayer? Because back in those days, like especially in Middletown, not too many girls like Slayer, you know?
No, still don't.
I know, right? So the great thing is it turned out that that was her room, and her brother had drawn that. So as a result, one thing led to another, and here it is 30 some years later, and we're still married. So
nice. All because of Slayer.
They got
Yeah,
married because that
actually-
Slayer drawn. That Slayer
So let me get
drawn.
this straight. You met your wife over Slayer, basically. You bonded over Slayer, and you also went to a bachelor party at a Slayer show.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was for my bachelor party.
But I'm just saying, like, it just seems like there's a lot of
A lot of love
And-
a
connections.
lot of love
Our
there
kid-
with Slayer.
Our kid's first concert was Slayer too.
See,
So now, Robin,
Nice.
I'll turn it over to somebody else. But Robin, I actually have a question for you. You're going to have to ask the experts. I know that you can do this, but on the Hell Awaits album, "At Dawn They Sleep," another one of my favorite songs. When they go into the verse, let me think. I wrote it down because I knew I was going to do this. I knew I was going to get on here and forget. Why can't I never find my notes when I'm looking for them?
I don't know.
It's the worst. I hate this. I write it down and I'm like, oh, I
Well,
can't.
well,
as
you
bad
can
as me, man.
message me and I'll ask.
I'll have to, because there's one verse where you cannot understand what he says. And if you look at the lyrics, it's not there. And I'm just wondering what it is. It's he says, "Leap together, something the hellborn need to kill. Leap together, blah, blah, blah." He just makes
Well,
up
I
some-
can ask, but actually, I'm gonna probably get the answer of like, I don't know. That's
Well-
probably gonna be the answer.
This is
But
crazy.
I'll
I
ask.
don't remember the type thing.
You're like, what?
I was gonna say this has been bugging Steve since 1985, so he needs an answer.
Well, the story that I heard was that when he was reading the lyrics off the sheet in the studio, Carrie had scribbled something, or Jeff, whoever had wrote the lyrics, and he couldn't read it. So he just blah, 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 blurred something out. And that's what it stayed as on the album. So you'll have to ask him that too.
All right, message me and I'll ask, and then I'll also, if you remind me, I'll also inquire about the last day set list.
Okay, that'd be
And then I'll get
awesome.
back to you.
You rule.
Oh, no, I'm
We'll
curious.
answer it.
too.
We'll answer it to, and the viewers are going to want on that too. So we're going to have to answer it on an upcoming episode. So cool. So thanks, Steve. And I guess who did we go
Thank
to
you.
next? I think we went to Mr. Sasquatch Barthe. Denis, welcome
Hey,
back.
let's do it. First of all, Danielle, nice
Yeah,
to
how's
see
it going?
you. You're an amazing guitar player. Every time I see you solo, I want to
Thanks,
fucking
man.
quit and retire.
Appreciate it.
So you
Ah,
and
man.
I never
brother.
seen you since
Appreciate it.
the last Possessed album came out, but like the new Possessed is fucking awesome, and that song Omen
Thanks, man.
has become my newer like Possessed favorite song. So anyway,
Nice.
nice to see you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
So, Aggression had the chance to open for Slayer. It was the lineup was Venom, Slayer, Razor, and Aggression.
Wow.
Venom Mentis just quit like a few weeks before, and it was those two idiots playing guitar. It was a horrible show. But that night, like Slayer,
Yeah.
like gave us a lesson on how to kick ass. Like it was everything they were doing. It was just like they started to play, and it was like intense metal until they stopped, and it was just an amazing show. And to go back to John's comment previously, and I'm a fan, so every time an album comes out, I buy it and I listen to it, regardless if it's crap or not. I'm gonna always get it. Like I actually like the song "Repentless." I thought it was
I
a
do
good
like
song.
I like
Um,
it too.
But as a guitar player, it's almost like I think in a lot of people as they were growing with Slayer, like at first, like there was the Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman were kind of like normal, but equal when it comes to writing songs and skills. And then somehow Jeff's songwriting started to like rise above Kerry King's songwriting, and I think at some point, like I was starting to look, and I could tell the difference between the Kerry King songs and the Hanneman songs. And when he passed away, it was very difficult for me to go see Slayer after. I love Gary Holt. I think he's one of the, if not the best thrash metal guitar player ever. I don't even know like how he does what he does, but it's like, and I feel super bad saying that. Like, but to me, Slayer, it's almost like the wrong guitar player died. I would have loved to see like Hanneman with Gary Holt, but like you
Like,
no, but Slayer is such an important part, right? Of like who
sorry,
we
that
are.
was.
So,
I'm like, I'm gonna.
but I
He's
really
being honest.
I really like Jeff Hanneman's stuff. I had a chance to meet him many times and had deep conversation, and I love their Undisputed Attitude album because I was a huge Verbal Abuse fan, and I love that they were able to cover these songs with such aggression and power.
Yeah.
I also love Minor Threat, and they did amazing covers of that. So, but that's how personal a relationship with a band you admire since you're like 17 years old is. Like, it's the same as KK Don and Glenn Tipton. Like, like which one is your favorite then? Joe Perry, Brad Whitford. But like when it's the same as when Dave Lombardo left. I love Paul. I met him with Debbie Abono when they came to Montreal and played with Forbidden. But like it was not the same for me. It's like Slayer was like Black Sabbath. It's gotta be Ozzy, it's gotta be Tony, it's gotta be Bill, and it's gotta be Geezer, and any other lineup's not gonna work for me. Same for Kiss. It is what it is. So the only other thing I want to add before I start saying too much stuff is, like I love Chris' story about like Phil Anselmo doing a song with Slayer, because in Vancouver, that tour came through, Reinventing the Steel, with Slayer opening, and it was supposed to be Morbid Angel and Static X, but somehow something happened to Morbid Angel. And it was like a rap metal band that opened. But Slayer finished their set, and then they go. And I think it's Jeff's birthday. I'm not sure, but somebody from Slayer's birthday. And it's the longest time I've seen between a band until Pantera started. And Pantera's not starting, and I think it was at least an hour gap. We're all waiting, and the crowd was getting like fucking like upset, right? So Phil Anselmo comes out, sits on stage, takes the mic. He goes, Pantera will not start this show unless Slayer comes back and play At Dawn They Sleep, or we're not fucking do it. And then throws his mic down, and he's just like this, pouting on stage, like, fuck it, we're not playing. So Kerry King comes out, and he seems like telling him, like, come on, dude, we're not going to play it. We're not going to do it. Just come back to your senses. And it's like, Phil Anselmo takes back the mic. Is like, okay, I don't think you understand, buddy. Pantera's not playing tonight. If you guys are not coming back and playing At Dawn They Sleep, it's not happening. I don't care what you say, it's not happening. So Slayer comes back, starts playing At Dawn They Sleep, and Phil sang the entire song with them. And it was fucking crazy. So, but Slayer, man,
that's great.
Slayer, it's
I gotta say, it's impressive for a band to play a song like that without rehearsing it. Like,
dude,
I some
it.
random song off, but I mean, I might be like, what comes next? Like.
They did a great job, and but yeah, like I said, Slayer, it comes from the heart. It influenced like who we were as guitar players, and like. Venom started the job. Yeah, and I think Slayer kind of like modified our way we were going about music. But amazing band, amazing memories, and they will live on forever.
For sure.
That's it.
For sure. And
I'm
Denny, you have the best stories. I always say you really have some great stories. Every time we do a show, it just blows me away, the stories you come up with. That's an odd story. I can't really recall. I don't know. Maybe Kristen. Have you ever recalled a headlining act saying we're not going on unless that's the band that played before us comes out and performs another song? I don't remember it ever happening.
You guys can watch it on YouTube. It's actually on YouTube. If you look like a Pantera Vancouver show, I think the year was 2000.
Okay.
That was the one with Biohazard, right? Was that the tour?
No, it was it was
Scrape.
Pantera,
It was
Slayer,
Scrape. Yeah.
Morbid Angel, and Static X.
Oh, that okay. Because I remember the Pantera one with Biohazard. I don't know. There's so many that I'm like.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Cool. Well,
Anyway,
thank you, Denny. And I guess we're gonna head over to if you're finished, Denny. I don't want to say move away from you if you're
I'm
not.
done.
All
I'm
right,
done.
cool. And we're gonna move over to Mr. Brad Mader. Welcome back.
Cool. Man, thanks again for having me on the
Thank you
show.
for joining.
And I'm really enjoying all these stories. They're freaking awesome. And it's so, it's a very important band to me. And to hear all this is really, really cool. I wish I had stories like that. I really do. I mean, I was just a fan and got to play a couple shows with them and all that shit.
Yeah.
The only story I really have, and I thought was pretty funny, was Slayer came down here and played at the Ritz and the Masquerade. And this back in probably 2002, I want to think. And I brought my wife with me, and she was 6 months pregnant at the time. And I always told her, I said, I met Slayer here and there, a couple members, and talked to them briefly, nothing very intense. But the one band that was on the bill, I think it was Diecast. I'm not sure. It was a band I toured with at one point. That's how I got into the show. They invited me down. So we were sitting there, and we see the show. And it was kind of nerve wracking for me because, I'm like protecting my wife,
Yeah.
So we go backstage after the show, and Kerry King's hanging out, and I always feel like a big nerd, because I'm such a big fan of the band. I don't want to go up to him and be like, "Oh God, you're awesome," blah blah blah. I'm trying to stay back and be cool, So my wife keeps egging me on. It's like, go and say hi to him. You met him a few times. It's like, I don't want to bother him, And then she goes, I'll go up. So she just goes up to him. And, of course, my wife's very pregnant at the time. And she's just like, you don't know me, but I know you. And I think you're awesome. And just the look on Kerry King's face, like looking at this pregnant woman saying that, I thought it was just hilarious. And then I finally got the balls to go up and say hi to him and told him what band I was in. And actually, Diecast was doing their sound checks, was playing an All Out War song as a sound check.
Oh wow!
And the guy from Diecast was there. I forget his name now. It's been so long, but we used to talk equipment all the time. And he looks like Kerry. He goes, "Hey, Kerry, you know that song you like? We always fool around with the soundtrack. He wrote that." He goes, "You wrote that?" And I said, "What song you do?" And he's like, "Oh, we do this." I was like, "Yeah, it was a good song." So meanwhile, in my head, I'm doing the nerd. I'm like, "Kerry King likes my song." Kerry. So that's the only cool Slayer story I have. But
Nice.
Just to go with like top 5 albums, I mean, I do love them all. I mean, I'm not just saying that. I mean, a really big influence on me. But I mean, obviously, Rain and Blood, South of Heaven, Hell Awaits got me into the band, and then I went and got all their back category stuff.
Yeah.
Show No Mercy, and I do love God Hates Us All. I think it's a great album. I even love Repentless. I think it's great. But for me, like a lot of the older stuff was good because that's when I first started playing out, doing shows at the Rock Palace, in Middletown there. And, playing like, Black Magic and doing Die by the Sword and, like a lot of that older stuff, and just, it still rings true. And to kind of go back to what everybody was saying about member changes, it was horrible when Hanneman died and Dave Lombardo leaves the band and, they get some other guy and he comes back and he leaves again, and it's just like, I think what it resonates for all of us that we're just such diehard band, fans of the band. And it seems like all of us here really got into the band at the origin of the band, just hearing all these stories, everybody was there at the beginning, and to watch any kind of variant of that band just, it's like, why is this happening? They're perfect the way they are, and that just shows you how much, all of us here just really care about the band and the integrity of it, with the members. So
yeah.
I don't know, that's the way I look at it. I felt the same way too, but Gary Holt was a great replacement. I think he did a great job.
Definitely.
And I mean, talk about stepping in some shoes. I mean, I don't know how I would have handled that pressure. Just to go in and have to replace Hanneman and live up to that level is hats off. I mean, I don't know how he did it, but that's pretty awesome. But yeah, he did it. And even Paul getting in there and jamming, and I mean, incredible drummer. Yeah, I mean, talk about a great, guy to come in and really give them the energy that they needed to keep going forward. It's just awesome to me.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, hands down favorite band for me into musician I am today, and I will definitely miss them. I mean, it was something I always looked forward to when they were touring, to go make sure to go see the show no matter where, and I would travel. So anyhow, thanks again. It was awesome listening to all these stories, man. I really enjoyed it. So
thanks for joining us tonight, Brad. It's always good to have you on. And we're going to wrap up to this evening's program with Robin, and then we'll go over to see Dan for his final thoughts. And
I'm going before you. Okay.
You're going before Dan. I've already done my final thoughts. I gave it all in the last segment of mine, so I'm just going to listen to you guys. Cool. So Robin, you're up.
I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's fucking Slayer. That's like
fucking Slayer. Everybody say it once.
Slayer, like
Slayer.
Like I don't even know how the metal world will exist without a Slayer tour. Like for me, like personally, it's just I can't even, that's like, I constantly think about that, like how much that they meant to me over all of these decades and everybody else, and like that they're not a band anymore. That's like fucked up.
Yeah.
Like it's like devastating almost. It's like, it's really a bummer. Even like, we're talking about lineup changes and everything. And even throughout all that time, the lineup changes never really, I mean, I noticed them, of course, but they were never like a deal breaker for anything for me to not want to go see them or not do anything. But anyway, man, I'm just crushed that they're,
go on.
That they're just like, I feel bad for anybody that's never seen them, like, and that's not going to get the chance, like, but as far as songs, I pretty much said it before. I want to say, like, if I had to pick a favorite song, and it's really hard, but for me, my favorite Slayer song for some reason has always been Die by the Sword from like day one. That has always been my favorite song, but my favorite lyric, and anytime it was sang out loud, was Rancid, Angel of Death, flying free. Like, it was just like, like, are you fucking kidding me right now? It was like always just like, I mean, I can't imitate Tom Araya, and I wish I could, because then I would want to be in a Slayer band and be Tom Araya 100%, but I can't sing like that. But I mean, when that lyric came on, anytime, it was just like, holy shit. Like, I mean, many lyrics that they sang, like, it's, man, God damn them for ending. That's all I got. Motherfuckers. That's all I have.
Well, I actually have one question for you. Since you did that final tour, what was the vibe within the band? I didn't do the final
tour. I was at the last show.
Oh, just last show. Okay.
Yeah, because I was on tour with King Diamond.
Oh, you were on tour on one of the legs, though, because you were out.
I was on one of the legs, yes. But the final show, I was on tour with King Diamond. And I was at the final show because King Diamond played LA the day after the last Slayer show.
So what did the first two legs, or the first two legs of the Slayer?
I honestly.
Yeah.
Well, was a vibe on the tour where the band was really happy to be finally ending this, or was it like a sad vibe throughout the whole tour? Or like, what was it?
I mean, no, they were normal. Like, it wasn't, I mean, even the last show, it's really hard to say because everybody like was backstage and like hanging out, and it was like normal everyday, like end of tour stuff. I mean, the crew is a little more stressed out because, packing stuff up and, everything. But I mean, they were normal as far as like, I mean, it was definitely like more of a party. Like it was one of those nights where, but it was, you know, and I don't know if I should get into, like, I don't know if I can talk about a lot of it, like on like the backstage at, you know, the Forum, they had like a whole separate area for like, you know, friends and family and the, like the VIP thing. So
Yeah.
everybody could hang out and they like, you know, it was catered and they had all kinds of like Slayer stuff there and, you know, for stuff like that. So that wasn't part of like, it was only like VIP stuff and that was pretty like Rain and Blood cupcakes.
Rain and Blood
Stuff
cupcakes.
like that. But, you know,
Cool.
I mean, they all seemed like, nobody seemed like sad. I'm sure it didn't even hit them until, you know, after. I can't even really say. I was kind of wasted at that point too. So I don't know.
Okay, just curious.
There was a lot of Jaeger going on and
Yeah.
so I don't know. That's like, yeah, it was typical normal bunch of Jaeger and yeah. It's like
Nice.
you know. But yeah, I mean, I'm sad that they're, you know, over, but I'm so happy that I was able to, you know, experience the band and their music for as long as I have, you know.
Yes. And you were so many shows that you got to spend. It's over 300 shows. You've got the
It was so many, like between
Of anyone in
sound checks
this
and
room.
shows and I don't know. I can't even
Sure.
like.
Yeah, at least they did it on their terms, right? You know?
Yeah, I mean, they chose
Yeah.
their
There you go.
definite like last, this is it, and you
Yeah.
know, and that was their minds were made up, and that's what it is. I mean, you know, 100%. You know, Carrie's not ready to give it up. I'm sure. You know, no way. You know.
He's gonna play music. He's gonna play music still.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, he's a, you know, musician and a music person and it's in his blood 100%. There's no way he can retire. There's no way.
Yeah.
No way.
For sure.
So.
Well, there's a reason Dean Guitars is working with them now, and that's all I can say. So.
And I have other story that I can say, but I can't say it on here. I have to wait till later.
Yeah.
So you viewers aren't going to hear about this. Only us guys on the after Zoom, whatever, hang out.
After show.
Yeah.
Backstage pass stories.
Recorded, so sorry, guys.
She's gonna tell us about the Slayer sex tape, and we're not gonna tell anyone.
Like I don't even want to.
Dildo, Slayer, something it was, right?
I don't want to even. That's like.
Why, thank you, Robin. And it's an emotion. And all of our shows get emotional with Robin. As we talk.
I know. Well, I'm very
We're
passionate
really
about
passionate
these
about
bands. Like, I mean,
you know, Motorhead and Van Halen and all these guys and all our heroes.
Well, they're all going.
We're losing. I mean, some have died, some have, you know, retired. It's part of us getting old, I guess. I mean, I'm old, so I'm not going to speak for the whole room. Dan's a young guy. I know Dan's one of the young kids in the room tonight.
It's just like, no, I'm just like.
All right. Well, I guess.
Oh, and I was gonna say too, probably like, I mean, for some reason, I mean, there's a lot of Slayer memorable shows for me. Like I've seen them like in, you know, small clubs, and I've seen them at like their largest show ever. And I want to say, like for their headliner, it was in Chicago on one of the farewell tours. They had like a record number of people. But one of the craziest shows I've seen ever, and they were playing in San Bernardino. And I walked out into the crowd and it was insanity. Like people were lighting garbage cans on fire and throwing them at each other and into the crowd. And it was just like, it was like a total scene from like Prison Break. Like it was insanity. I was like, what in the freaking hell is going on out here? And I'm like, I can't be out here. It was so brutal. And like, I mean, literally that like the whole area was on fire and people were just
So what period was this from?
That was not, it wasn't, that was in 2009.
And that's where, and that's San Bernardino, what's that?
San Bernardino is in California. Like, so basically it's close to one of their hometown shows. Like a lot
And
of like
that's-
hometown family people come out, but it
Yeah.
was, I literally was like, oh, I'm going to go out to like the crowd and check it out because, you know, I'm like, I never go out in the crowd really.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was like, what in the freaking hell? It was
That was Armageddon.
totally, like, it was like a total like prison break. Everything was like, people were throwing fire glass at other people's heads.
Wow.
It was just like, holy shit, man.
And
And everybody's like, well, that's normal for here. And I'm like, oh, okay.
that's the same
So that
venue.
was- that
That's the
was
same venue where
insane.
they were doing the Ozfest out west, wasn't it?
Huh?
That's the venue where Ozfest was out. San Antonio.
Probably, but I mean, I've been to San Bernardino a few times on festival tours, but that
Yeah.
was holy shit.
Over the top. So was it just them headlining or they were part of a festival?
They were headlining.
Okay.
Or actually, no, they were not headlining. Marilyn Manson was headlining. And like after Slayer played, it was like a whole new crowd came out. It was like, where did all these other people come from? It was weird. It was weird.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, wow.
But anyway, that was like one of my most memorable out of like
Crazy.
the million shows in like 40 years. That was
Was that like a
Wow.
mayhem fest or something? Having Slayer warm up Manson? That was kind of an odd
Well,
bill.
Slayer and Manson did, I think, 2 years in a row tours. One was just Slayer and Manson, and one was like the Mayhem Fest or something like
Oh,
that.
okay, okay. Yep, yep.
But yeah, that one was like, what in like, holy shit.
That was a weird show. I went to the one in Tampa, I remember, and it's really bizarre, you know, like the lineup alone is really like, okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
but it was like a whole different crowd showed up. It was like,
Sure.
it just switched. It was,
Yeah.
it was just like, shoot. I don't know. Weird.
What? Cool,
Weird.
cool.
But anyway, chaos. Holy crap. San
Well, thanks.
Bernardino brought it.
Thanks for your input, Robin. And I think we're gonna
Sorry.
go over, we're running a little long, and I think we'll go over to Dan and wrap the show up. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight and giving us their time to the channel, and a blast. And Dan.
I'll be quick. I really don't have like a very fun or crazy Slayer story, but you know, when I was a kid growing up listening to metal, I never really got into thrash. But Slayer, I remember getting a tape that had Raining Blood, you know, the whole album one side. And that was like, I was mind blown. Yeah, I have all the fucking toys too.
Do you? I didn't know if you could see me doing that.
Yeah.
Meaning to distract you.
I was mind blown. Like at that time, you know, for me, I never heard anything like that, you know. So definitely, you know, like Altar of Sacrifice and like Necrophobic, like, you know, fastest songs are always my favorite. So yeah, I mean, Slayer's a band that I'll always love. You know, there's I mean, even in you know, the albums that people complain about, I mean, there's still great songs, you know,
Yes.
that I can pick and listen to and have no issue whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, it's sad that they're done, but you know, like I was saying earlier, at least they did it on their own terms, and they gave the fans, you know, a lot of shows, you know,
Yeah.
especially on the last run. They did a lot of special songs, so they probably hadn't played in ages. So, you know, I kind of understand it in a way, but you know, we all at least we have the music and the albums and, you know, the memories forever. So, you know, I feel like, you know, like every like metal musician, whether, you know, it's one of their favorite bands or not, they owe Slayer a lot.
Yes.
A lot. So, you know, if they ever come back, it's gonna be like the one of the best comebacks ever. So
Yes.
hopefully, in a couple of years we get that. If not, then we have an amazing discography to remember, and videos and bootleg, which I still love that Belgian bootleg. I think it's amazing. Actually, I found a YouTube video of it, of the whole show, and it's incredible. One of my favorite things about it is Tom's stage banter at that
Oh
time.
yes.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
amazing. It's amazing. Just saying a bunch of disgusting shit, and just being really gross. It's amazing. I love it. So
I'm
So,
glad you
yeah.
love Tom's banter because no one's really mentioned that tonight.
No.
So that banter was some of the best shit.
Yeah, the
man.
shit he was saying
yeah,
on that
like
85
back
tour
in the
was
day,
crazy.
yeah, talking about like eating maggots out of corpse cunt and shit like that.
Yes.
I'm the most amazing shit ever. It's
Crunching between your teeth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. Which
Yes.
made they were playing like super fast, amazing energy and amazing banter in between songs. What else can you ask for?
This is a song about older women.
Yes. Yeah. Do you love older women?
I had a Live Undead painted jacket that my friend Duke painted for me, and on the back, instead of putting Live Undead, he wrote in big letters necrophiliac. And my wife used to wear it when I met her. We were really young, and she used to wear it to high school, and her teachers used to, what the hell we got on, but one thing
That's awesome.
one thing we didn't mention that we have to mention before we sign off, I know it's getting late, was the 1988 cushion riot in the Felt Forum, where they
I was there.
5-year ban
Yeah.
Square Garden.
August 31st, 1988.
Yeah,
Are they
that
the
was
ones?
a huge show, and they pretty much destroyed all the cushions, all the seats in the Felt Forum, which is pretty much a legendary. They used to do Golden Globes box stuff there, and it got destroyed, and it cost Slayer a 25-year ban from Madison Square Garden.
Well, the ironic part is that Slayer got banned from the Garden, and so did Priest, but they let Slayer back in, but Priest is still banned.
That's crazy.
Priest is still banned now. And
Priest is still banned because they tried to play the Garden in recent years, and Garden will not let them back.
Wow.
You guys tore up seat. Your fans tore up seat back in the 80s.
Yeah,
And that's
35 years ago, we're not letting you back.
Talking back to those 80s arena shows and stuff where they used to tear up the seats. And at least they did it in New Jersey. I don't know if it was a worldwide thing or not, because John and I were at some, and all of us have at those shows. Yep. Flying seat cushions and Ozzy yelling people to go crazy. But
burning parking lots at Iron Maiden, right?
Yeah. So anyhow, so I guess Dan, do you have anything more to add, or should we wrap it up?
That's pretty much it.
All right.
I mean, I keep talking about songs forever, so
Sure.
definitely Final Command and Aggressive Perfector, they're definitely on my top. So that's pretty much for me. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And what about the cover of Dissident Aggressor?
Oh yeah, that's a great cover too.
Yeah, I love that.
I like how they did the How For Screams with high string bands, in the song.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and please hit subscribe to the channel. We have some great new episodes coming up and in the works that we're really excited about that we're going to keep a secret for now. And John's been doing something else called, John, what's the new file show that you're doing on the channel? You're going to do monthly.
Latham Files. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Figure we had such a good time doing a talk with Ross and Bob from Immolation. We had Sharon from Dercada, and we had Mark Mastro on. So a bunch of cool people from, back in the day. Henry Vegian, my old Revenant band member. We just had a good time talking about metal stuff. So figure we try doing it for a couple of months. Just do there was so much to talk about. So I figured we'd do a couple episodes, see what happens. So check it out. Latham.
Latham.
Yeah.
Latham.
Gank that from immolation.
Some more files coming out here. We got another files show on the channel, so that's cool. And we got recently did one with Impaler that's going to be airing this week, and next week we're going to be coming back on Wednesday night. I think we all decided we're going to be talking about the Scorpions, and the week after that we're going to be revisiting one of the great classic rock legends, Queen. And thanks for everyone for joining tonight, and stay fucking safe and stay fucking metal.
Slayer.
3, 2, 1.
Slayer. That was weak.
Yeah.
It was like we were watching
Everybody
a Slayer, we were watching a Slayer cover band or something maybe for that.